Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another Mad Meta Magic, where we try to make the magic meta mad. This is a recent 5.0 deck list by EbonRat, I think. I found on MTG Decks. It's Eldrazi Aggro, not Eldrazi Tron. There are no Tron lands. Eldrazi Aggro. So this deck does the Syrup Powder Eternal Scourge shenanigans. We play Thought-Knot Seers Reality Smashers. We play Eldrazi Mimics and Endless Ones on turn 1 as, like, 2/2s off of Eldrazi Temple and such. We have Smuggler's Copters to help loot away the excess lands. We've got Dismembers as our removal of choice. We're playing 25 lands. Lots of man lands. We have many Mishra's Factories and Mutavaults. We have Urza's Saga, just as a 2 of. 2 Blinkmoth Nexuses. Blast Zone, and Zalfirin Void. Out of the sideboard, we have Surgical Extraction as more Grave Hate, 2 Acts of Aggression, which I find to be very interesting, 4 of Chalice, 4 of Spyglass, and 4 of Contortion. So this is a very, very weird-looking deck that I'm kind of interested to play, so I'll see you guys in round 1. Alright, we are on the play, and we have Powder and Scourge, so I think we're going to Powder because we don't have any Eldrazi Temples in hand. Kind of sucks we're losing 2 Mimics and an Endless One, but this hand has a Temple and stuff to do with it, so I'm going to keep. Good old mulligan to 8. Alright, so begin with Temple, play an Endless One, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Bloodstained Mire and pass. We draw Smuggler's Copter. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Opponent does not block. Play Mutavault. Play Copter. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks Bloodstained Mire. They get a Stomping Ground tapped. They untap. They play an Auntie's Hovel, revealing Conspicuous Snoop. So they play the Snoop, revealing Munitions Expert. We untap, draw Smasher. I'd really like to draw a land. So I think what I'm going to do here is play another Endless One as a 2/2, crew up the Copter, go to combat, and attack for 5. We draw Ghost Fireblade, ditch a Smasher. Okay, opponent does not block. They take 5. So let's dismember the Snoop. Pass the turn. They untap. They play another Auntie's Hovel, revealing Goblin Matron. They play the Matron. They go and get Munitions Expert, so they will have double Munitions Expert. We draw a Mutavault. How do we do this? We could animate Mutavault and use that to animate Copter and then play Ghost Fireblade, swinging for 7. Actually, don't think that's too bad. Hang on. Alternatively, I can play out an Eternal Scourge, but that just gets killed by 1 ping of Munitions Expert. I think that's fine. So we'll play a Mutavault. Play the Scourge from Exile. Have the Scourge crew the Copter. Go to combat. Attack for 7. We are going to loot a land. We did play a land this turn, but land guarantees Smasher next turn. So ditch Eternal Scourge. Opponent can block 2 and take 5, but they don't. They go to 5. Play Ghost Fireblade. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play Cavern of Souls, naming Goblin. So they have 2 Munitions Expert. They can hit something for 2 and hit something else for 3. We untap. We draw another Ghost Fireblade. Play Zalfirin Void. Let's go Scrying. Thought-Knot Seer to the top. I think we just play Smasher and swing. They can play 2 Munitions Experts and kill like 2 things, but there's no reason to risk the copter. Play Smasher. They could double ping Smasher and then block some stuff, too. So, like, they could flash in a Munitions Expert, kill the Eternal Scourge temporarily. I'm not sure they were 100% dead, but it wasn't looking good for them, I can say that much. So versus Goblins. What do we play versus Goblins? I don't think we need Relic, so it might just be more like Spatial Contortion effects. I don't know what Active Aggression is for, but I don't think I want to be paying 3 to steal a Goblin, even at instant speed. Chalice is kind of nice. I think let's just cut the relics for the spatial contortions and we'll try it like this. This is not like the Dimir Powder Eldrazi deck, although it does have some similarities. Alright, I will be keeping this hand. No reason to powder. We have an Eldrazi Temple, we have multiple Mimics. We even have a Gemstone Caverns. So we're going to Gemstone Caverns and actually exile Serum Powder, I think. I'm going to place a Stomping Ground untapped into an Ignoble Hierarch. We untap and draw Zalfirin Void. I think we need the Scry. We can't use 3 mana this turn, but we might be able to use 4 mana next turn. Second Temple, unfortunately, not what we need right now. Play Mimic, pass the turn. Opponent plays an Auntie's Hovel, revealing another Ignoble Hierarch. They play another one. They're going to attack for 2. No blocks. We untap. We draw Blink Moth Nexus. So we can either play a Manland or play another Zalfirin Void. The Manland might be important, but I think it's more important to get the Scry. We're going to start by attacking. I was hoping we would draw, like, literally any Eldrazi and not more lands. But I think this deck is actually built with the expectation that you are going to Serum Powder at least once. So play another Void. Let's go Scrying. Smuggler's Copter to the top. Play Mimic. So what we can do now is... next turn we can play Smuggler's Copter, animate a Mutavault that we just play, and attack with it. Well, we can't attack with it that turn, actually. Never mind. Who knows what I'm talking about? So opponent has 4 mana. For some reason I was like, oh yeah, we could attack with Smuggler's Copter the turn we play it, and it absolutely does not have haste. I think I was actually supposed to put Copter on the bottom. Oh no! What will we do? I guess, like, I can't play Thought Knots and stuff, but I still can play Smuggler's Copter. Go to combat. Hit them for 4. I can still play Endless One as well. Play Mutavault. Play Copter. Pass the turn. Opponent, I guess they do have green and red mana because of the Hierarchs, but they play Sling Gang Lieutenant. That is actually a problem. So they're going to hit us for 2 again. We untap. We draw nothing. I guess crew the Copter, go to combat, attack and loot. Alright, this hand was too slow. I'm actually going to concede because I don't think we can come back from this. Like, even if I top decked a Reality Smasher, I don't think it would be enough. Ghost Fireblade wouldn't be either. So I need something that's a little faster than that. But the good news is I think we can manage, and the other good news is I'm pretty sure we don't have to worry about Blood Moon. Spatial Contortion, Reality Smasher, and Thought Knot Seer, which are a pretty sizable portion of our deck. We won't be able to play without a Wastes, but if we can spy a decent hand with a Wastes, we'll keep it. I think we're fine to keep this. It's not the greatest, I will admit. I don't want to powder this, because I don't want to powder away a Wastes. So we'll play Urza's Saga on 2. I don't think we play a 1/1 Endless One. I think we actually keep it for a turn. So we're going to lead on Zalfirin Void, and I'm going to keep this hand. Let's go Scrying. Mishra's Factory to the bottom. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Mountain Vial. We untap. We draw an Urza's Saga. Play an Urza's Saga. Play a 2/2 Endless One. Pass the turn. Opponent plays an Auntie's Hovel. They reveal Mog War Marshal. They play it. They get a 1/1. And they pass. We untap. Draw Mimic. Urza's Saga gets its ability. I'm going to play Blast Zone here. And we're going to pass. I'm gonna probably make a construct. We can leave up Spatial Contortion as well. Opponent does not vial in a 1-drop. They do not pay the Echo cost for the War Marshal. Aether Vial going up to 2. Opponent could be casting Blood Moon here. It would be somewhat good. Serum Powder can also tap for colorless if we need it to. Opponent cracks Wooded Foothills. Shocks Stomping Grounds. Plays a Goblin War Chief. If they activate Vial, I will Spatial Contortion that. Opponent goes to combat and passes. So, activate Saga, make a 1/1. Pretty lame construct, to be honest. We untap, probably just go for another construct, because otherwise we're going to have some trouble making artifacts. We can fetch up Ghostfire Blade. We draw Eldrazi Temple. Opponent vials in a Munitions Expert. Sure. We get a Ghostfire Blade. Play another Saga. Equip the Blade. Then attack for 4. Opponent goes to 13. They untap. Vial stays on 2. Only awkward problem about this is we don't want to crack Blast Zone because it would kill Ghostfire Blade as well. We also don't have a Wrath. Opponent plays Ignoble Hierarch off the top. They can play a Matron and Tutor. That War Chief granting haste is a real problem. I guess if they've got Bargot Harbinger, we lose, because they can just put Kiki on top. Okay. They play Matron. And they get a Tarfire, so they're going to kill the Construct. They go to combat, swing for a lot, hitting us to 12. We untap, draw another Temple. Urza's Saga gains its ability. Play an Eldrazi Temple. Play an Eldrazi Mimic. Go to combat. Attack for 4. My opponent is drawing a Munitions Expert. Opponent untaps. They're probably leaving Vial on 2, if I had to guess. They draw Munitions Expert. Ignoble Hierarch on top of their deck. They're going to play Sling Gang Lieutenant. So that actually just kills us, right? Because even if I like Spatial Contortion the War Chief, they have more than enough guys that can attack, and then they can just sack the rest. Okay. Well, I kept a pretty suspect hand, but I knew it. Alright, I'll see you guys in round 2. Alrighty, round 2, and this looks like a pretty excellent hand. We've got effectively a 1-drop, a 2-drop, and a 3-drop. So, begin with Endless One. On the play, I imagine this isn't bad. Pass the turn. So we are against a Lurrus deck. Opponent plays a Snow-Covered Plains. They're probably Hammer Time. Yeah, they play Giver of Runes. We untap and draw Thought Knot. So go to combat. Attack for 2. Opponent no blocks. They go to 18. Play Mishra's Factory and a Turtle Scourge. Pass the turn. So if my opponent plays Stoneforge Mystic here, we can Thought Knot Seer them. And take whatever they tutor for, or whatever their best card in hand is otherwise. Opponent plays Urza's Saga, and Stoneforge Mystic. They reveal Colossus Hammer, so we untap, we draw Reality Smasher, go to combat, attack for 5. Opponent blocks the 3/3, they give protection from colorless, or they should anyway. Okay, so they take 2. Okay, play Blink Moth, play Thought Knot. So they do have Sigarda's Aid, and that is definitely the card we take from them. Because this Urza's Saga is going to go and get a hammer eventually. What I imagine they do this turn is probably play a land, play a Springleaf Drum, make a Construct, and give the Construct colorless to block with. So they play a Plains. They could alternatively put Lurrus into their hand. I mean, if they top decked another Sigarda's Aid, they definitely would play that. And they make a Construct. Well, if we draw a land... I was going to say, if we draw a land, Smasher's definitely the play. I don't know if we kill the Construct or if we kill the Mystic. Well, actually, I think we just have to kill the Giver because we can't really do anything else. So let's do that. Okay, this opponent's going to protect the Stoneforge Mystic. So they're going to take 5 this turn. They definitely keep the Construct. They go to 11. We play a Scourge, pass the turn. So then they play out a Hammer, they tutor up a Hammer, or they play out a Springleaf Drum. They make a token, play out a Springleaf Drum, use the token they just made to play a Hammer, and then tutor up a Hammer. So that's like, what, these are 6/6s now? I think that is the correct order. So there's the token. They get a Welding Jar. Okay. They play a Plains. They play an Ornithopter, then Springleaf Drum Hammer. Well, they may not play out the Hammer, but that's a problem. Play out another Springleaf Drum, thwarted by a single Urza's Saga. We untap and draw another Temple. I could play a Smasher, but it doesn't do anything. So, play a Temple. Play Thought-Knot Seer. Hand check. Pretty sure it's Colossus Hammer, Sunbaked Canyon. Yep. Take the Hammer. Fire up Blink Moth. Go to combat. Hit them for 1. So we'd like to draw a Ghost Fireblade to speed up this clock, I think. But it plays Sunbaked Canyon. They're going to cycle it. Nope, they put Luris in their hand. So they're holding Luris. We untap. We draw Copter. So, animate Nexus. Actually, that doesn't do anything, never mind. And the reason it doesn't do anything is because Ornithopter. So, play out Smuggler's Copter. Pass the turn. Opponent cycles Sunbaked Canyon. They untap. They draw. They play a land. They play Luris. And they play Giver. And they play a Memnite. And then they attack for 7. They can just Welding Jar. So I guess I'll chump. We untap. We draw a second Smasher. Play Smasher. Crew up the Copter. Go to combat. They have some pretty advantageous blocks, so there's nothing I think I should do here other than attack with Copter. Ditch Smasher. Okay, opponent's going to take 3. They go to 7. If I dismember something, it's Luris. Or Giver. Because they could just start making their constructs unblockable. I think we gotta dismember the Giver, really. Like, they just replay it, but like we have to buy a little bit of time. Opponent untaps. They play a Stoneforge Mystic, and they have an active one. They get Shadow Spear, and that's going to be game, because we can't raise Shadow Spear. Okay. So versus our opponent, I think we're bringing in Active Aggression, and I think we're bringing in Chalice. We're going to go down the Relics. The Ghost Fireblade also seems really suspect. I'm going to cut like an Eternal Scourge, and maybe a Mutavault. I could bring in Spatial Contortions. I think Dismember is going to be better. Let's try it like this. Alright, I would like to play first. That hand's not keepable. This hand probably is. We will put back the powder. So start Temple, play Endless One, pass the turn. I'm going to play Sunbaked Canyon. I'd really like to draw a Thought-Knot Seer, but I'm not opposed to playing an Endless One this turn. Opponent plays a Memnite, and a second Memnite, and an Esper Sentinel. We untap, we draw a Thought-Knot Seer, go to combat, attack for 2. Opponent does not double block, they take 2 and go to 17. Play Thought-Knot. Shadow Spear, Pure Steel Paladin, Pure Steel Paladin. Well, I can't take their Paladins from them, so I will take the equipment. Pass the turn. If I could get a land for Smasher, I think that'd be pretty good. Opponent drew a land. There's no reason for them not to play out a Paladin, at least to my knowledge. Okay, they play out a Paladin. They can triple block if they want to kill Thought-Knot. Go to combat. Attack. Opponent does not triple block. I can either play a 4/4 Endless one, or I can play a 2/2 Endless one and leave up Dismember. I think I actually have to do that, and that feels awful. Because if they draw Hammer right now, there's literally nothing we can do about it. Opponent is going to On Thin Ice, probably to exile Thought-Knot. Okay, they get to draw. Now I really regret not playing this as a 4/4. If my opponent were to cast a Hammer or an Equipment here, we have to Dismember Pure Steel in response. Okay, well, I guess I made the right decision. Opponent gets to draw again. But they're holding another Pure Steel, so like unless I get another Thought-Knot, we're probably dead, because we won't be able to swing past it. Chalice on 1 doesn't help, because my opponent only has to play a 2-drop. Yep, Eldrazi Temple not being an actual soul land. If we'd had a Chalice in our opener, I think the correct play versus that deck is to play it on 0, but... Alright, I'll see you guys in round 3. Okay, welcome back to round 3. We're against another Lurrus deck. I don't want to powder away an Eldrazi Temple, so I think I actually keep this. Not a huge fan, but if my opponent is playing Ragavan, we can Dismember it on turn 1. Opponent fetches and shocks a Blood Crypt, plays Dragon's Rage Channeler, goes for the Bauble, putting Dragon's Rage Channeler in the grave, Bauble, putting Scourge of the Skyclave in the grave, cracks Bauble, and passes. We untap, they draw a card. We draw Mishra's Factory, play Temple, Dismember, opponent baubles us, we kill Dragon's Rage Channeler, they untap and draw, then they draw again. Opponent plays Marsh Flats, cracks Marsh Flats, they fetch and shock a Blood Crypt, they have Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger, discard Serum Powder, untap, draw Gemstone Caverns, play Mishra's Factory, play Eternal Scourge, pass the turn, opponent untaps, Inquisitions, they whiff, we untap, we draw Wastes, go to combat, attack for 3, they got a Lightning Bolt, so it gets exiled, play Saga, gets its first ability, play Thought-Knot, opponent only has 3 cards in hand, and it's Terminate, Terminate, Inquisition, take Terminate, pass the turn, that's fun. I didn't even realize they played Terminate. I thought they played just like Bolt and Push. Okay, that extra draw got them to a land. We untap. Second Saga. I think playing a Smasher here is better than making a token. So play a Wastes. Play Smasher. I'm not sure if they know about that Waste or if we drew it after the Inquisition. It's possible I should have played Gemstone Caverns there. Hit them for 5, take them to 9. They untap. I guess they have to play Kroxa here? Or they Inquisition, Terminate, and discard their whole hand. Douthie Voidwalker, which cannot block because it has Shadow. Are they dead? They might be dead. If they don't have a land to cast that Terminate... No, because it's Inquisition and Terminate in their hand, right? So let's see what we draw. Copter. I don't think we make a construct, actually, at all. Go to our main. Float mana. We get Ghost Fireblade. Equip here. Fire up Factory. Go to combat. And attack for lethal. Okay, they drew a Lightning Bolt. But they're still taking 7. They go to 2. Play Saga. Gains its ability. Play Copter. Which is lethal by itself and flies past the turn. So they're holding a Terminate, so they can terminate this Reality Smasher, but I don't think they can kill everything, because they don't have enough cards in hand. Alright, we got there. Versus my opponent's deck, I think we're definitely bringing in the Chalice. Relic also seems somewhat important, but I don't know what else I'm cutting here. I'm going to cut Relic. Maybe I don't want to cut Surgical. Or maybe I want to add Surgical, I mean. Because, like, just hitting one of their threats could be really good. Let's bring in Chalice, and we'll cut the Relics, we'll cut a Copter, and I think we'll cut, like, a Mutavault. Because Mutavault is just a worse Mishra's Factory. We'll try like this. I think I actually am going to keep this. I have no way to play Chalice on 1, which I think would be best. Playing Chalice on 0 is not bad, because of Bauble, but they're going to play all their Baubles the first turn anyway. Maybe I do need to mulligan. Let's mulligan. Do I want to powder this hand? Yes. We will put back Chalice. Do I want to powder this hand? This plays a Mimic into a Copter, even though it's got a Temple in it. I think we do. This hand doesn't do anything. Do I go to 5? I must. Alright, this is a turn 1 Chalice hand. So we have to put 2 cards back. It's going to be Dismember and Thought-Knot. Then we will lead on Gemstone Caverns, exiling Zhalfir and Void. If they've got Inquisition or Thoughtseize, they're just going to ruin us. And they kept 7, so they probably do. I'm really hoping they don't Inquisition. I would actually rather them cast like Dragon's Rage Channeler. Well, we knew it was happening. Turn 1 Chalice would have been really good, though. I guess we could always top deck another one, but... Yep, there goes Chalice. Opponent, we untap, opponent draws a card. We draw Eldrazi Mimic. Play the Mimic. Pass the turn. Yeah, but that's why Chalice is really bad on the draw, even if you can play it on turn 1. That's not as bad as it looks. And it's not as bad as it looks because... Oh, I can't actually play that, never mind. Go to combat. Attack for 2. It's not as bad as it looks because we have a land that taps for colored mana. Hit them to 11. For some reason, I keep thinking this is just a land that taps for 2 mana, and that's not right. I don't know why I'm making that mistake. I've played with Eldrazi Temple more than I've played with actual soul lands, for anything or any reason, so. Opponent shocks a Blood Crypt, goes to 9. We untap. We draw Dismember. I mean, go to combat. Attack for 2. Opponent has an Unholy Heat. So we Dismember. Get rid of Voidwalker. I guess I'm lucky I actually mulliganed to Gemstone Caverns, because if I hadn't, I'm not sure what we would have done. I do need another land, though. If we can get a second temple and quickly, we might be in the money. I've exiled 1 temple. Opponent Croxes us, so we ditch Serum Powder. They shock a Blood Crypt and go to 7. We untap and draw Endless One. Play an Endless One. Pass the turn. Opponent Kaya's Guiles us. So now they can play Croxa, which is a big problem. So believe it or not, our problem this game was not mulliganing to like 4. Our problem this game was mulliganing to 4 and never drawing another land. So we've got a Ditch Smasher, unfortunately, because we're going to lose our last card in hand when they attack, and they have Ragavan, of course. Yeah, I would have to give up my only colored mana source in the entire deck, and Void Mirror would hardlock us out of the game, so that's a loss. Yeah, no adjustments. We'll run it back. So be on the play for game 3. We definitely can do better than this. We can definitely do better than that, too. We'll keep... Gotta hope our opponent doesn't have a Void Mirror, basically. Because we can't produce colored mana unless we're on the draw. Seems like a fatal flaw in this deck. Opponent plays Ragavan and a Bauble. They crack Bauble, we untap, they draw a card. We draw Eternal Scourge. So, play Eldrazi Temple. Play Scourge. Pass the turn. Opponent has a Lightning Bolt, Scourge exiles itself. They hit us for 2. Exile Smuggler's Copter. I really hope they don't have a land to play that, because it seems like it would be good for them. We untap and draw Dismember. So, I'm going to play Mutavault Reality Smasher because I'm pretty sure my opponent kept a 1-lander off of only Void Mirror. Hit them for 5. They go to 12. They untap. They play a Bloodstained Mire. They hit us for 2. They get an Eldrazi Mimic. They crack Bloodstained Mire. They get a Mountain. They play Dragon's Rage Channeler. They have a Terminate. We draw a Thought-Knot. Play Wastes. Play Thought Knot. Inquisition, Dragon's Rage Channeler, Dragon's Rage Channeler. Take Dragon's Rage Channeler. Yeah, we're just gonna fire off Dismember now. Pass the turn. We untap, draw Serum Powder, but I can't beat an active Kroxa. Alright, see you guys in round 4. Alright, we're on the draw for round 4, and this hand is good, but it doesn't do anything. I think we just regular mulligan here. I'm not going to powder this. We have a Temple of Caverns and lots of good stuff, so we're going to keep. I'm going to put powder on the bottom. Play Gemstone Caverns and exile Scourge to Gemstone Caverns. Okay, opponent leads on Godless Shrine tapped. We draw an Eldrazi Mimic. So I think we need to kind of extend our damage a little bit. We're going to play Mimic and play Relic. Pass the turn. If I draw another Temple, Smasher's going to do so much damage with Mimic. If I don't, I guess we just play Scourge and attack with a 3/3. Prismatic Ending. Alright, we untap. Draw Ghost Fireblade. Play Eternal Scourge. Pass the turn. Not sure if my opponent's grave matters to them, but we can Relic them. They play a Flagstones. Alright, well, we're not winning this one. If they're playing Fulminator, they have Prismatic Ending, and they have Flagstones, they're playing Smallpox. Alright. So down comes Fulminator. They take out Temple. We untap. We draw Blink Moth. Exile Fulminator in case they're playing Unearth. Play Blink Moth. Play Copter. Go to combat. Hit him for 3. Pass the turn. They Vindicate Smuggler's Copter, which is kind of interesting to me that they wouldn't just like hit a land, but they play a second Flagstones and tutor up a Godless Shrine. We untap. Maybe the rest of their speed, like removal, is sorcery speed, because I could totally see them playing Dam, and a bunch of other stuff like that. Play Ghost Fireblade, equip Scourge, go to combat, hit them for 5. Opponent untaps. They play an Urborg. At least my opponent's deck's kind of cool. I just don't think we can beat it. Okay, Vindicate. Exiling Scourge. And they play a Bloodghast. Yeah, it's definitely like Orzhov Smallpox. We draw a Temple. So play Temple. Play Scourge. I'm going to spend my mana and equip. And exile a card out of their grave. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Kaya. Exiles the Ghost Fireblade. Last card in hand is a Flagstones. They pass. We untap. We draw Blast Zone. So play Blast Zone. Play Reality Smasher. Exile a card from our opponent's grave. Go to combat. Kill Kaya, hit her opponent. Okay. If they top deck a land, we win this game. They're attacking us for 2. Damn. Yep. Okay. We untap. We draw Thought Knot Seer. Which we're still going to play, even though it gets no value. Because it puts our opponent on a 2-turn clock. Opponent untaps. They play Timeless Dragon. Interesting choice. Probably not a bad one for a Smallpox deck, though. We're gonna need a Dismember. Or, well, Reality Smasher doesn't really do it. I'm gonna exile Relic. Gets rid of Bloodghast, puts Scourge back in exile. We do draw Dismember. Untap. Get a Smasher. That'll be a good follow-up next turn. So Dismember the Dragon. Play the Scourge. Go to combat. And attack for 4. Opponent goes to 3. We have 2 lethal threats, so my opponent basically needs to top deck a Dam into another spell. Smallpox. So discard Eternal Scourge. Sack Eternal Scourge. Sack Gemstone Caverns. And then they eternalize the dragon. Okay. Need a land. That is not a land. Play the Copter. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. They're once again dead if they have nothing. They Vindicate Thought-Knot and draw a card. And they pass. We untap. Draw Mutavault. Play Mutavault. Play Smasher. And I think this does it. I don't think my opponent can answer this creature. Even if they have an Edict, then they're dead to the Manlands or Smuggler's Copter. Like, my opponent would need a 1-mana Edict and settle the Wreckage. And they're losing their dragon because they'd have to block that turn anyway. Man, do I make any adjustments here? I don't think so. I just don't think we can actually win this. Not unless my opponent just bricks for 20 years. Alright, well, we'll keep this. Once again, it does stuff early. Play Caverns. Exile Blast Zone. Opponent plays Concealed Courtyard and Thoughtseize. So there goes Thought-Knot. My opponent did mulligan to 6. They pass. We untap. We draw Zhalfirin Void. Play the Void. Endless One we'll put on top. At worst, it's a 4/4. I should not be F6'd here. My opponent could play a Stoneforge I need to kill. Opponent plays a Fetid Heath. Inquisition, so probably Dismember. Mana is in all likelihood not going to be a problem, so I don't think they take Serum Powder. Yeah. Interesting that my opponent floated another black mana. That tells me they probably have another Hand Hate spell. Play Temple. Play a 4/4 Endless One. Opponent untaps. They pass. Come on, Reality Smasher. It's a wastes. Play Zhalfirin Void, get a Scry. Blast Zone to the bottom. Go to combat. Attack with Endless One. I'm not going to play out Serum Powder, because I want a card to discard if we get Smallpoxed. Opponent shocks Godless Shrine. They play Fulminator, which is a Fog and double Stone Rain. We untap. Draw Eternal Scourge. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Opponent chumps. And blows up Temple. Play Wastes. Play Scourge. Pass the turn. Opponent vindicates the Endless One. We untap and draw Blinkmoth, play Blinkmoth, go to combat. I think it's unlikely they're going to have K Command or Midnight Charm, so I'm going to play out this Serum Powder. You never know, they could play another Vindicate, and that could be the only thing that lets us cast a Reality Smasher for lethal or something. Or not lethal, but at all. Opponent untaps. They play a Flagstones. Okay. We're getting smallpoxed. Glad I played out the Serum Powder. They ditched Thoughtseize, which we knew they had from the way they were playing earlier. They sack Flagstones. We untap. Draw nothing. Play nothing. Give them the death by 1,000 cuts. Attack for 1, take them to 7. 7 is a lot better than 8, because 7 is a Reality Smasher wielding a Ghostfire Blade. Another Fulminator. They pass. We untap. Draw Scourge. Fire up Blinkmoth. Go to combat. They kill Blinkmoth. Sure. Play Eternal Scourge. Pass the turn. Well, they had a removal spell. We untap. Draw nothing. Play nothing. Pass the turn. So we have this turn or next turn to draw Reality Smasher. Relic kind of helps. I should have waited. Because if my opponent draws removal and they uptick Liliana, that's super bad. Inquisition. So they're going to have to uptick Liliana here, because that Smasher will kill them. They still Edict? Really? I think you don't have an answer to Reality Smasher, sir. We draw Mishra's Factory, play it. Play Smasher, go to combat, kill Lily. I could have attacked them here, forced them to use the Edict. But if they drew a Wrath or an answer, Lily would have stuck around and we would have been in trouble. Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, they would have upticked Lily, forced me to discard Reality Smasher. Lily survives a hit from Eternal Scourge. Then we have to play out the other one. Yeah, I don't know what you were hoping to draw, but I think you made the incorrect choice there. I don't know. I feel like that deck is like a 90-10 matchup, and our opponent should beat us almost every time. I think my opponent was making very questionable decisions. I'm kind of sad that the only interesting deck... I'm probably biased because I really like that style of deck, even though it completely decimates us in most scenarios. Kind of sad to see that that's in like the 3-1 bracket, or the 1-3 bracket, excuse me. Alright, I'll see you guys in round 5. Alright, no Temple, no Scourges to powder, and our opponent is playing a Lurrus deck. I think I am going to powder. I think it's better than a mulligan, generally, the first time. This hand, I think, is also worth powdering. Okay, I like this hand. I'm going to keep. Yeah, if you're not losing anything on a powder, and this goes for basically any Eldrazi deck playing this, if you're not losing any, like, if you don't have like a triple Temple powder hand with no other payoffs or something like that, you're probably better off just powdering than mulliganing, just to keep an extra card in hand. Obviously, you don't want to powder away your good cards, but we get Inquisition, so they can take Dismember, Copter, or Scourge. They probably take Scourge. Yep. They play a Swamp. Good Swamp art. I like that Swamp art. We draw an Endless One. Play Zhalfirin Void. Go Scrying. Temple to the top. Play Endless One as a 3/3. Opponent cracks Nile Spellbomb, exiling their own grave. Well, they don't want to give us a card we can play, so we will have Eldrazi Mimic become a 3/3. Hit them for 3. They go to 17. They untap. Opponent plays Dragon's Rage Channeler into a Scalding Tarn. We untap. Draw Temple. Play Smasher. Go to combat. Attack for 13. Opponent cracks Scalding Tarn. Gets an island. They're going to Drown in the Loch to kill Endless One. Oh my goodness. Sorry about the yawn. Opponent takes 10 and goes to 6. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Seal of Removal. This does not say spell or ability, so they can use Seal of Removal to fog Reality Smasher for a turn. Except they can't. Dismember Dragon's Rage Channeler. So they have to have a counter spell that isn't Drown in the Loch that can hit Smasher. Because this makes 3 lethal creatures, each individually lethal. Alright, we got there. Quadra Chalice coming in. I'm not going to take Relic out. I'm going to drop a Copter, a Mutavault, and like an Endless one, I think. Maybe one... I don't want to take out any Scourge or Powders. I'll take out 1 Relic. Relic is good against my opponent. I just don't know exactly how I want to sideboard for this matchup. Okay, this hand is great. We will keep. Hoping they start on 1-drop. They play Bauble. They play Polluted Delta, crack Polluted Delta, get a Swamp. See how bad Chalice is on turn? Like, if you cannot play this on turn 1, it's not good. Because, like, even if my opponent had played Dragon's Rage Channeler and, like, we had a Gemstone Mine, or a Gemstone Cavern and were able to play Chalice on 1, on turn 1, they would still probably beat us. And, like, you can make an argument that, well, they have to Thoughtseize it. Well, yeah, but if they have to take it for a Thoughtseize, it just means that they're taking your best card. Like, play Mishra's Factory, play Ghost Fireblade, leave up Dismember, pass the turn. Like, if it wasn't in my hand, they would just Thoughtseize my other best card. Like, man, do you remember when Eldrazi decks were playing Simian Spirit Guide to actually play Chalice on turn 1? Or play a turn 1 Thought-Knot Seer off of Gemstone Caverns, Eldrazi Temple, and Simian Spirit Guide? I do. That deck was fun, because it was like Eldrazi Tron, but Glass Cannon, which was kind of interesting. We draw Zhalfir and Void, so play it. Scry. God, what hand did my opponent keep? They must have like a Terminator something. Kolaghan's command say discard and destroy Ghost Fireblade. I don't need this Dismember. Unholy Heat, Lightning Bolt. So take Unholy Heat. I guess they kept a handful of removal then. I don't think that was the hand to keep. Opponent shocks Watery Grave, puts Lurrus into their hand, passes. We untap, we draw Endless one. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Yep. There's the Unholy Heat. They get to draw a card. Play another Thought Knot. Take Lurrus. Play Wastes. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Blackcleave Cliffs. We untap. Draw Wastes. Play Wastes. Play Smasher. Go to combat. Attack for 9. Take them to 3. They untap. And scoop. Yeah. I think that my last 2 opponents... My round 4 opponent, I think, made very poor decisions with their deck. Because I really think that the actual Smallpox deck, the deck that casts cards that removes all of our competitive advantages, playing cards that dodge like damage-based removal, cards that dodge targeted removal, and cards that accelerate us that are lands. When your opponent is playing a card that doesn't target you, forces you to lose card advantage in a deck that doesn't have card advantage, and can answer your lands, and doesn't beat you, like when they're playing Vindicates and all that stuff, I really think my opponent was making very poor decisions. My round 5 opponent, I think, kept a very bad hand in game 2. So Eldrazi Aggro. Definitely, this deck was probably a little bit of a budget consideration. I would not play this deck without Cavern of Souls, because without Cavern of Souls, if you run into Void Mirror and you didn't Gemstone Caverns, you're dead. There's nothing you can do about it. Decks based around this can work. I think the Urza Saga into Ghost Fireblade was kind of interesting. Urza Saga making tokens isn't necessarily that good in this deck because we're not spamming artifacts, we're not spamming foods. I don't think that was necessarily good. You could play Unclaimed Territory as a budget Cavern of Souls. I think it would be much worse, but you would at least dodge Void Mirror. I don't think this is better than the Dimir Powder Eldrazi. It's different. It plays a different game plan, but I think ultimately that deck is more explosive and a little more consistent. It also has a better top end, like tapping your opponent's lands or Distended Mindbendering their cards away from them, but I'm positive that deck costs more because you need a cavern or a play set of caverns to play that deck. So, congratulations to EbonRat for 5-0ing with this deck, because that could not have been easy, and I don't think that I would have much luck if I tried it. So, Active Aggression. I think is really interesting. I'd like to know specifically what that is for, what matchup. And like it could just be an answer for like Death Shadow, it could be an answer for like Cauldron Complete, a way to like swing in a whole bunch of damage. Because active treason effects or threaten effects can be powerful when you're playing an aggressive deck, and one that you can play that's completely colorless in a colorless deck might be worth running. Chalice of the Void has been such a complete underperformer. Everyone is playing answers to it in the form of Hand Hate. You can't play it before they can play Hand Hate. You can't play it before they can play a threat. Because the only way that we have in this deck, or most decks, to cheat it out on turn 1 is to do it on the draw when you have Gemstone Caverns, and that's not fast enough. If you want Chalice to be good, and it would be good in this metagame, is if you can play it on turn 1. And the only way that I know to do that is to Chancellor of the Tangle it. And that probably implies that you're playing some kind of weird Ponza Stompy deck that can afford a Chancellor of the Tangle. But I'm not sure that deck exists. Not in a real way, because I think Ragavan is probably pushing stuff like that out of the format. Like, how good a Lightning Bolt versus Ragavan's great. It is an answer that you can play on turn 1 if you were to play a deck like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not 100% where I would take this deck. Other than I personally would rather play Dimir Powder Eldrazi, but that is a different deck. It is a much more expensive deck, and if this is a budget consideration, as I stated previously, then obviously that's not a real comparison. It's not a valid comparison. I do like Mimic Endless One, Mimic Smasher. It feels really good. One of the things that I find that's interesting about playing Eldrazi decks, especially in the current metagame, like Eternal Scourge Serum Powder is how this deck generates card advantage, which it's powerful, right? You mulligan to 9 effectively, or mulligan to 8, and you start with an extra card in hand. And like we know how powerful that is because when the companion mechanic was broken and it was just an 8th card in hand, it was really strong. And honestly, just playing like a random 3/3 for 3 as your 8th card in hand in most matchups would be good. The problem is in this current metagame, it doesn't matter. A 3-mana 3/3 card is so unbelievably slow and overcosted. When you're going up against cards like Ragavan that are gaining you advantage on turn 1, that are aggressive, that are stealing cards, generating mana, when you're going up against cards that are 1 mana 6 damage removal spells, Eldrazi are not great. So Unholy Heat in the same deck, opponents playing Angrath's Rampage, they can answer any permanent in this deck basically however they want because we're not going wide, because we're not playing things like Sky Spawner. Void Mirror is especially punishing to this version of this list, so I would play some kind of Rainbow Land, at least to cast our creatures. But other than that, I don't really have any other suggestions, so if you guys like this content, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though the last few times have been earlier than that. And I want you to know that you're all wonderful human beings, and I will see you guys next time. Bye! Hey, just wanted to give a shout out to my patrons for the month of July. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate your support. And if you want to have your guys' names show up in this list, there's a link to my Patreon in the description down below. Thank you all so much.